Ever get the feeling that some people just have a knack for getting their way?
It's like they've got some secret code figured out.
Well, today's deep dive might just unlock that code for you.
We're talking about Jonah Berger's magic words. What to say to get your way.
Berger digs into the psychology behind why certain words have such a powerful effect on us.
And he shows how even the smallest tweaks to our language can massively boost our influence.
It's not about manipulating people
No, it's more about understanding the nuances of communication.
and using that understanding to create win-win situations.
Exactly.
So let's jump right into it. What really struck me about Berger's approach was how he uses everyday examples like this study from Bing Nursery School to illustrate his points.
Oh yeah, that one's a classic. It perfectly demonstrates how we can use language to, well, to kind of subtly activate someone's identity.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this study.
So they asked a bunch of kids to help clean up the classroom.
Always a tough sell, right?
Tell me about it. But here's the thing. They split the kids into two groups. Some kids were asked to help.
Okay, pretty standard.
Right. While the other kids were asked to be helpers.
Be helpers.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And that small tweet made a difference.
A huge difference. The kids who were asked to be helpers were way more likely to pitch in and clean up.
Okay, but why? What's the psychology behind that?
It all comes down to identity. When we frame an action as part of someone's identity, it becomes more than just a task, you know?
It becomes a reflection of who they are.
Exactly. So asking someone to be a helper, it speaks to their desire to embody that positive trait.
It's like saying, be the kind of person who helps others.
Right. And that's much more powerful than just asking them to do a good deed in the moment.
That's fascinating. It's like the difference between saying, I work out sometimes versus I'm a runner.
I love that example. It's the same idea. One feels way more ingrained, like it's a part of your core identity.
Exactly. And Berger's point is that we can use this identity activation to, I guess, nudge ourselves and others toward all sorts of positive behaviors.
Absolutely. And it's not just limited to, cleaning up or working out. Berger gives examples of how this concept has been used to successfully boost voter turnout.
Really?
Yeah, by framing voting as an act of being a voter.
Being someone who participates in their civic duty.
Exactly. People were much more likely to actually head to the polls.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much our words matter, even in ways we might not realize.
Tell me about it. And on that note, there's another little word swap that Berger talks about that I think is just brilliant, especially when we're like battling temptation.
Oh, I'm always up for a good life hack, especially when it comes to resisting that extra slice of cake. What's the magic word?
Ditching I can't and embracing I don't.
I don't. It seems like such a subtle shift.
It is subtle, but it can make a world of difference. Think about it. How often do you find yourself saying, I can't have dessert, or I can't go out tonight?
Pretty much every day. It's like my mantra. But what's wrong with can't?
Well, can't often implies a lack of control, like something external is preventing you.
Okay, yeah. It's like you're giving away your power.
Yes. Whereas don't, on the other hand, implies a conscious choice, a personal commitment. It's empowering.
So when I say I don't eat cake, it's like I'm affirming my commitment to my health goals.
Exactly. You're in the driver's seat of your decisions. And Berger cites this study where people who are trying to eat healthier were actually more successful when they used I don't instead of I can't.
That's pretty amazing. It's like a simple shift in language can actually change our behavior.
It's all about reframing our mindset.
I like it. It makes you wonder how often the words we use are actually undermining our own goals without us even realizing it.
Oh, absolutely. It's like we're accidentally sabotaging ourselves with our own language.
Right. It's a good reminder to pay attention to those seemingly insignificant words.
They often hold more power than we think.
Speaking of powerful words, there was this other point that Berger made that really resonated with me. It's about the power of a single word, especially when it comes to brainstorming and problem solving.
Oh, you're talking about could?
You know it. I thought that example he used, the one about the family pet, was heartbreaking, but it really drove home his point.
It was definitely memorable. See, when we get stuck in that should mindset, what should I do? It can really limit our thinking. We get fixated on this idea of a right or wrong answer, and sometimes there isn't a clear one.
Exactly. We can get so caught up in finding the correct solution that we completely miss out on other possibilities.
Right. And that's where could comes in. When we ask, what could I do? It opens up a whole world of creative possibilities.
It's like that classic riddle. You know, the one with the candle, the thumbtack, and the wall. You have to figure out how to attach the candle to the wall using only those two items.
I've heard that one. Most people struggle with it because they get stuck on the object's usual purposes, right? They think a thumbtack is for pinning things to a wall and a candle is for burning.
Exactly. But when you start asking, could I use this thumbtack box as a platform instead of just a container, suddenly new solutions start to emerge.
Exactly. That one little word, could, it helps us break free from those conventional ways of thinking. And it's not just about, like, riddles and puzzles either. Berger talks about how people who use could, when they're approaching challenges at work, often come up with more creative solutions.
That makes sense. It's about shifting from a mindset of limitations to a mindset of possibilities.
Precisely. And, it doesn't even have to be a complex problem, even in everyday situations. Instead of asking, what should I make for dinner?
I could ask, what could I make for dinner?
Exactly. It just opens up your mind to a wider range of options.
It's like giving yourself permission to be more creative.
Exactly.
This is great. I'm already feeling more creative.
Me too. And, while we're on the topic of asking better questions, there's another word that Berger talks about that I think is worth exploring.
Oh, lay it on me.
The word you. It can be incredibly powerful, but it can also be a bit of a double-edged sword.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, think about how often you see the word you used in headlines and advertising.
True. It's everywhere.
Right. And there's a reason for that. It's
Yeah.
incredibly effective at grabbing people's attention.
Because it feels personal.
Exactly. It makes people feel like the message is directed specifically at them. Think about it. 5 tips to save money versus 5 tips you can use to save money.
Adding that one word, you, makes a huge difference.
It's like that you is shining a spotlight on the reader, making them feel seen and heard.
So you can be a powerful tool for engagement, but you said it's a double-edged sword.
Right, because as powerful as you can be, it can also backfire, especially in certain contexts.
Like when? Give me an example.
Customer service, for example.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's say I'm having a problem with a product, and I go to the company's website for help.
Right, and the support page says something like, if you can't get the printer to work.
It does kind of feel like they're pointing a finger at me like it's my fault.
Exactly, and that's the problem. Using you too much in those situations can make people feel blamed or even attacked, even if it's unintentional.
It creates a sense of defensiveness, like, hey, it's not me, it's your product.
Exactly. And that's the opposite of what you want in a customer service interaction.
So it's all about being mindful of the context.
Exactly.
You can be powerful, but use it wisely.
Words to live by.
This is great.
Okay.
So just to recap, we've talked about how activating someone's identity, switching from can't to don't, and embracing the power of could can all make us more persuasive communicators.
We've also talked about how the word you can be a powerful tool, but it's important to use it strategically.
It's all about using the right words at the right time.
Exactly. Context is everything when it comes to language.
So what other fascinating insights did Berger share about how our language impacts our ability to persuade and influence?
Well, up next, let's dive into the language of confidence. Because Berger argues that projecting confidence, or even the perception of confidence, can significantly impact how influential we are.
Okay, now this is good stuff. I'm ready to unlock my inner confident communicator. Let's do it.
One of the studies Berger talks about analyzed courtroom testimony,
Okay.
and they found that how witnesses spoke really impacted how credible people thought they were.
So it's not just about what you say, but how you see it.
Exactly.
So what set the more credible witnesses apart?
Well, they used clearer language,
Okay.
more concise,
Mm.
and they avoided what are called hedges.
Hedges.
Yeah.
What are those?
So hedges are all those little words and phrases
Okay.
we use to kind of soften our statements.
Give me some examples.
Like, maybe,
Okay.
sort of, I think, it seems like.
Oh, in my opinion.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I am so guilty of that one.
Most of us are.
Yeah.
We use them because we don't want to sound pushy or,
Yeah.
or like we're afraid of being wrong. But
Yeah.
the thing is, they can make us sound unsure of ourselves.
Which then makes our message less impactful.
Exactly.
So what did these super credible witnesses do instead?
They used more definites.
Definite.
Yeah.
Give me an example.
Think about words like definitely,
Yeah.
clearly, obviously.
Right.
These words, they imply that what you're saying isn't just like your opinion.
It's a fact.
Yes.
Even if it's not.
Well, there you go.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Well, and Berger talks about how even financial advisors
Yeah.
who seem really confident,
Mm-hmm.
even if their predictions aren't always right,
Right.
they tend to attract more clients.
It's like people just gravitate toward that certainty,
They do.
even if it's all an illusion.
It's a fascinating thing, isn't it?
It is fascinating.
But Berger also mentions
Yeah.
that there are times when admitting a little doubt
Okay.
can actually make you more persuasive.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Think about it. If someone's already on the fence about your idea.
Or maybe completely opposed to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Coming on too strong can totally backfire.
It's intimidating.
It is.
Makes people defensive.
Right. Because it becomes like a competition then.
So it's better to be a little more humble.
I think so.
Like, this is what I think, but I'm open to hearing your thoughts too.
Exactly. Because then it becomes a conversation
Correct.
instead of a battle.
I like that.
And, admitting uncertainty can actually make you seem more trustworthy too.
Really? How so?
Well, think about those disclaimers you sometimes hear. Like someone will say, well, I'm not entirely sure, but the research seems to suggest.
Right.
It makes them seem more relatable somehow.
Because they're being honest about the fact that they don't know everything.
Exactly. They're not pretending to be some all-knowing guru.
Right.
It humanizes them.
I like it.
It's a good approach
It is a good approach.
to keep in mind.
Yeah, speaking of approaching things differently,
Yeah.
Berger also talks about how even something as simple as verb tense
Interesting.
can affect how our message is received.
Okay, how so?
Well, he analyzed online reviews,
Okay.
and he found that the ones written in present tense were more persuasive.
Then past tense.
Yeah,
Huh, why is that?
because using the present tense creates a sense of immediacy,
Okay.
like you're experiencing it right now with the person.
Well, that makes sense.
So like, this book is amazing
Yeah.
is more impactful than this book was amazing.
Because it brings the reader right into the experience.
Exactly.
And it's not just about reviews, is it?
No.
I mean, imagine you're trying to get your boss excited about a new idea.
Okay.
Instead of saying, I found this amazing new strategy.
You say, check this out. This strategy is amazing.
Yes, exactly.
I like it.
It just makes it more compelling, right?
Definitely.
More engaging.
It's like you're inviting them on a journey with you.
I like that.
But here's where things get a little counterintuitive.
Okay.
Because Berger also says that sometimes being a little less specific with our language can actually be more effective.
Interesting.
That seems counter to everything we've been talking about.
It does, right?
Like I've been saying, clear and concise is key.
Right. Clear and concise builds trust.
Exactly.
Especially when we're trying to explain something complex.
But then Berger goes and throws us this curveball.
He does.
So when is it better to be less specific?
When you're pitching a big idea,
Okay.
especially to investors,
Because you want to paint a bigger picture.
you got it.
Okay.
You're not just selling a product at that point.
Right. You're selling a vision.
Exactly. A whole movement.
And that's where abstract language can be really powerful. So it's like instead of saying, we make plant-based burgers.
Which is very specific.
Yeah.
You say...
We're creating the future of sustainable food.
Exactly.
Because that's way more exciting for an investor. It's aspirational.
It implies a much broader scope.
Right. It's not just about burger.
It's about a whole new way of thinking about food.
It's about changing the world.
Exactly.
It all comes back to being strategic with our language.
Yes.
Knowing when to zoom in and be specific.
And when to zoom out and think big picture.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Me too.
So we've talked about confidence.
Yes.
We've talked about clarity. We've even talked about verb tenses.
We have.
What else did Berger have to say about how we can use language more effectively?
Well, we should definitely touch on storytelling.
Oh, yes, storytelling.
Yeah. Because Berger argues that a good story
Yeah.
needs more than just a happy ending.
Okay, go on.
He says that even negative emotions
Oh, interesting.
can make a story more powerful.
He used that example of Guy Raz and the famous Dave's barbecue guy, right?
That's the one.
Where Guy kept asking famous Dave about his biggest failures.
Yes.
And famous Dave was like, why do you keep focusing on the negative?
Exactly.
But Guy was making a really good point.
He was.
Because a story without any lows
Yeah.
isn't as interesting.
It's like a roller coaster with no drops.
Exactly. It's boring.
It is.
We need those ups and downs
Hold
to
on,
keep us engaged.
I need the contrast.
So it's not just about sharing our successes.
Right.
It's about being willing to be vulnerable.
Yes. And Berger talks about how admitting our flaws
Even our failures.
can actually make us more likable.
It's like that saying, never meet your heroes.
Because you'll only be disappointed.
Exactly.
But when we see that our heroes are human too,
Yeah.
that they've made mistakes just like us,
It makes them more relatable,
It does.
more real.
And we connect with that
We do.
on a deeper level.
Absolutely.
And, that reminds me of something else Berger talked about.
What's that?
Those linguistic fingerprints we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
He goes really in depth on how the language we use can reveal hidden things about ourselves.
I'm ready to decode my own linguistic fingerprints.
Me too. Let's do it. It's kind of wild what these fingerprints can reveal.
Tell me more.
Berger talks about how researchers could actually predict loan default.
Whoa, hold on. Like they could tell if someone was likely to pay back a loan
Yes.
just from the language they used in their application.
Very much.
How is that even possible?
So they studied like thousands of loan applications
Okay.
from this peer-to-peer lending platform. And what they found was the language used by people who ended up defaulting.
Yeah.
It was different.
Different how?
Oh, there was a lot more language about hardship.
Hardship, like?
They used words like payday loan,
Okay.
refinance, stress,
Right.
even divorce popped up.
Wow.
And they used a lot more pleading language too.
Pleading.
Yeah, like need help, please help.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
Oh, and they even brought up religion more often.
Oh, like their words were a cry for help,
It's true.
even if they weren't consciously aware of it.
Subconsciously, they were giving off these signals.
Revealing their financial instability,
Exactly.
even if their credit score looked okay on paper.
It's like these underlying vulnerabilities were seeping out through their language.
That is both amazing and kind of terrifying.
I know, right?
Like our words can betray us,
They can.
even when we're trying to put on a brave face.
It's a good reminder to be mindful of what we say,
And how we say it.
especially in situations where we're trying to make a good impression.
Right, because those linguistic fingerprints are hard to erase.
They are.
So it's not just about choosing the right words,
It's about understanding the subtext.
the hidden messages.
Exactly.
And this whole idea that our language can reveal these hidden truths.
Yes.
It goes even deeper than just personal interactions.
What do you mean?
Well, Berger talks about how researchers have used language analysis to study societal biases.
Oh, right. Like that study about gender bias in music.
Yes.
That was a fascinating one.
They analyzed something like 250,000 song lyrics.
It was massive.
I know, and they found that in the 70s and 80s, lyrics were way more likely to associate positive qualities with men.
Like intelligence, ambition, bravery.
Exactly.
While women were often portrayed in a more passive light.
It's like the language of music itself was reflecting these deeply ingrained societal biases.
And perpetuating them at the same time.
It's crazy to think about.
It is, but the good news is they found that this overt bias has decreased in recent years.
That's good to hear.
Progress is being made.
So the lyrics are becoming more gender neutral.
To some extent, yes.
But
there's always a but, isn't there?
Uh-huh. Right, so it's not a completely level playing field yet.
Not quite.
What kind of bias are we seeing now?
It has become more subtle.
Subtle. How?
Well, even today, song lyrics are still more likely to focus on women's appearance.
While men are described as being competent and capable.
Exactly.
So we've shifted from this blatant sexism
To a more insidious form of stereotyping.
where women are valued for their looks.
And men for their accomplishments.
It's like these unconscious biases are embedded in the very fabric of our language.
And it's hard to combat because it's so ingrained.
We don't even realize we're doing it half the time.
Exactly.
But that's why this stuff is so important to talk about.
Absolutely.
Because once we're aware of these patterns, we can start to challenge them.
Yeah, and change them.
Exactly.
Create a more equitable world for everyone.
This has been eye-opening.
It's been a pleasure.
I feel like I need to go back and listen to this whole deep dive again,
I know, me too.
armed with my new magic word arsenal.
Right.
So for our listeners out there,
Yes.
what are some key takeaways?
Well, remember, even the smallest tweaks to your language can make a big difference.
Like swapping out can't for don't.
Exactly. Or framing a request as an invitation to embody a positive trait.
Love that.
And don't forget the power of could.
To unlock those creative solutions.
Exactly.
And of course, be mindful of how you use you.
Yes, because context is everything.
It really is.
And maybe most importantly,
yeah.
pay attention to those linguistic fingerprints.
Both in our own language.
And in the language we encounter every day.
Because our words have power.
They do.
More than we realize.
They can reveal hidden truths about ourselves.
About our society.
And about the world around us.
So choose your words wisely, everyone.
Hear, hear.
That's it for this deep dive into the fascinating world of magic words.
Until next time.
See you then.